If I asked you right now to tell me in your customer's own words why they bought from you instead of anyone else, could you do it? Like their actual words, not what you say on your website or in your marketing. If you're sitting there drawing a blank, stick around because today we're fixing that and it's going to take a lot less effort than you think. Welcome back to Small Business Simplified. I'm Karin Velez, your business big sister. Last week in my newsletter, I shared a piece about talking directly to your customers instead of guessing what they want. That article got more replies than almost anything I've sent this year, so I want to slow down and give it the full episode treatment because this is one of those topics where a few honest, albeit maybe awkward, conversations can move your business further than months of trial and error marketing ever will. You are already sitting on the answer to almost every marketing, product, and pricing question that you have been agonizing over, and it's in the heads of the customers who already buy from you. And most of us have never bothered to ask. And I know calling customers or emailing them and asking for their time can feel awkward. It can feel like you're imposing. I promise you, it is the opposite. People like being asked about their own experience. It's one of the more flattering things that you can do for someone. So set aside the nerves and let's walk through exactly how this works step by step. The fastest and cheapest way to grow a tiny business is by having a conversation with the customers you already have. I know that sounds almost too simple for a whole episode, so let me tell you why it isn't. Most of us think we know what our customers want. We've been at this for a while, okay? We talk to people, we read the comments, we watch the reviews come in. Surely we have absorbed enough by now to really know our customers. But knowing your customers casually is not the same as knowing them well. It's the difference between knowing someone's favorite color and really understanding what makes them tick. There's also a research point here that we can mention because I don't want this to sound like I'm just pulling opinion out of thin air. There's a well-known Harvard Business Review piece that makes the case that multiple choice surveys, the ones that most of us default to, and star ratings and after purchase emails asking you to rank your experience, these are all very shallow by design. People rush through them, okay? They tick a box without really thinking about the response, and that gives you data that looks precise, but it doesn't really tell you a whole lot. The research has found that a business rarely needs more than a dozen real conversations to get a full, nuanced picture of what its customers value. And I think 10 to 12 honest conversations is absolutely within reach for any of us, even on our busiest week. Let's start with the mistakes that almost everyone makes, myself included, in years past. We listen to the loudest customers and assume that they represent everyone. Think about who you hear from the most. The person who comments on every post, the one who emails immediately when something goes wrong, the one who shows up in your DMs with a question every single week. These people are valuable, and I am not saying to ignore them, but they're not necessarily our best customers, and they're definitely not a stand-in for our entire customer base, right? We have folks who consistently comment on every post that I put out for our farm business, and yet I rarely, if ever, see those same people shopping at our farm stands. Your best customers, the ones who buy the most, come back the most, and get the best results from what you sell, are often very quiet about it. They don't leave reviews. They don't comment. They just keep coming back and they keep buying because it's working for them. And because they're quiet, we accidentally build our whole marketing strategy around the preferences of a much louder but much smaller group. This is where a lot of tiny businesses get stuck. You tweak your captions based on what your most vocal follower said. You add a product because a few people in a Facebook group asked for it. You second guess your pricing because one person complained. And meanwhile, the customers who are truly keeping your lights on haven't said a word because nobody asked them. So the first real step here is figuring out who your best customers really are. And this takes 10 minutes with your sales records, okay? Pull up your order history or your booking system, whatever you use to track sales. Look for three things. Who spends the most with you over time? Who has the highest average purchase? And who has gotten the best results from what you sell, meaning that they've told you it works, they've left a glowing review, or they just keep coming back for more. Find those people and pick 5 to 10 of those names. Now, here comes the part that makes people nervous. You have to ask them for their time, okay? They are not going to be annoyed, I promise you. Would you be annoyed if a company that you shop with all the time or a service provider that you have hired over and over again reached out and asked you for an honest conversation? No, then neither will the folks on this list, okay? Send them a short message. Keep it warm, keep it very low pressure. Tell them that you're working on understanding your customers better and that you would love 10 minutes of their time to hear about their experience. If you can offer something small as a thank you, then do it, right? A discount code, a free product, a little gift card if your budget will allow it. It doesn't need to be extravagant. Most people say yes because it feels good to be asked, and it tells them that you see them as more than just a transaction. Make sure that they understand this is not a sales call and don't treat it like one. You're not trying to upsell them or collect a testimonial, okay? You're trying to understand their experience. Let them know that very clearly when you reach out. This kind of lowers the guard on both sides, honestly. Now, if you're someone who gets uncomfortable at the thought of a phone call, and I know a lot of you are, this still works over email or even maybe doing like a voice memo exchange. It's a little bit less rich than a live conversation because you kind of lose the tone of voice and you don't have the opportunity to like follow up on certain moments, but it's better than just guessing, okay? Pick whatever format that you will actually follow through on. You can even do this on the fly if you have the time the next time you see them in person, if that's how you operate and if your time allows. This isn't something that we could do at our farmers market stands like in the middle of the summer, but the slower crowds in late fall would absolutely allow me 10 minutes to just have a chat with my best customers right there when they're making a purchase. This isn't something I would do with any one of my coaching clients, say at our next Chamber of Commerce, social, but it is something that I would do if I happen to maybe bump into them while we're both grabbing coffee, okay? If you're doing this by phone, don't try to schedule all 10 calls in a week if that feels like too much. You can do this gradually, spread them out, right? 2 or 3 conversations for a month is still going to get you there. And it's also going to keep this from becoming just one more overwhelming project on your plate. So once you're in the video call or you're on the phone, here are the 3 questions that get you the insights, right? Instead of just the polite surface level answers that most of us default to. You'll want to modify these questions appropriately depending on the type of product or service that you sell, but you'll get the gist of it as I go through these. Question number 1 would be, what was going on in your life when you decided to buy this? Or in another way, what led you to buy this? Or how did you come to find my store? Okay. Let them talk about their job, their family, whatever was happening at that moment. This gives you real context behind their purchase, like the actual situation that made your product or your service feel necessary. Question number 2, what were you hoping things would look like once you had it or bought it? Or how were you hoping that my product or service would help you? This is the question that gets you the outcome they were chasing, described in their own words. This is pure gold for your marketing because it's the language that your future customers are already using in their heads. And then question 3, If you told anyone about it, who did you tell and what did you say? This one shows us two things at once. It shows who your customers would think would benefit most from what you had to offer. And it hands you the exact phrases that they use when they're recommending you. Word of mouth is one of the strongest growth engines a tiny business has. And this question lets you see it happening in real time. When you're having these conversations, write their answers down as close to word for word as you possibly can. Okay. Don't clean it up. Don't summarize it into your own language. Their exact words are more persuasive than anything that you would come up with sitting at your desk trying to write a sales page. And if someone gives you a short answer, resist the urge to move on to the next question right away. Ask them to tell you more. Could you say more about that? Or what did that feel like? That's almost always going to get you a much richer, more specific detail than that first short answer. The first thing someone says is usually the polite, very surface version. The second thing they say after you have shown them that you are genuinely listening is where the real insights tend to live. And notice any energy shifts while you're talking. If someone lights up or their voice picks up pace when they mention a particular detail, that is worth circling back to. That's usually a sign that you have found something that matters more to them than they initially led on. And it's exactly that kind of moment that is worth digging into a little bit further. Now, let's talk about why this matters beyond just, feeling nice to hear from your customers. I want to tell you about a compression sock company. It's called Vim and Vigor, and they were working with a marketing strategist named Richelle DeVoe. The founder of Vim and Vigor had built their business assuming that her customers were mostly athletes because that's who she originally designed these compression socks for. Her marketing, her product photos, her whole message was built around recovery and performance. But when she got her actual best customers on the phone, that picture was completely different. Her highest spending, most loyal customers were not athletes. They were nurses and wait staff, people who are on their feet for like 10 to 12 hours a day. So once she shifted her marketing language, her product development, and her whole positioning around that audience, her e-commerce business grew by over 100% to the tune of millions in revenue. Now, you don't need a business that size to get value from this. This same process changes three specific things in a tiny business too. The first one is marketing. Once you know the real language that your customers use to describe their problem and their outcome, then your captions, your emails, your product descriptions, they all get sharper. You stop guessing or trying to write really clever copy, and you start just echoing back the exact words that your best customers already used with you. The second one is product development. When you hear the same story over and over again from multiple best customers, that's a sign. Maybe there's a version of your product for a use case you hadn't thought about. Maybe there's a bundle, a size, or a service add-on that's hiding in what they told you. This is how you build things that people want instead of the things that you assume they want. And I'm speaking from experience here. The third one is customer relationships. When you take 10 to 15 minutes to genuinely ask a customer about their experience, you build loyalty in that single conversation. People remember being asked, and they remember being heard. That customer is now more likely to stick around, more likely to refer someone, and more likely to give you honest feedback the next time something maybe isn't working because you've shown them that you want to know. Now, there are a couple of mistakes that could undo the value of this whole process. The first mistake is asking customers what you should build next instead of asking about what already happened. People are really bad at predicting their own future behavior. So if you ask, would you buy a version of this product in a bigger size? Most people are just going to say yes to be agreeable, and that answer might not hold up once you launch it. But if you ask about a real purchase that they already made, what was happening in their life, what they were hoping for, what they told their friends about it, you get something that's grounded in reality. It's not a hypothetical. So that's exactly why the 3 questions that we covered are all built around the past, not the future. The second mistake is only talking to customers when something has gone wrong. A lot of us default to reaching out for feedback during a complaint or a refund request, which means the only customer voice we regularly hear is the frustrated one. So that skews your whole picture of your business toward the negative. And it means your best and happiest customers rarely get asked anything at all. Build these conversations into a regular rhythm, even just a few per quarter, so that you're hearing from the people who love what you do just as often as the people who maybe don't. The reality is, most of us are guessing about what our customers want. And that guessing can be expensive, even if it doesn't feel that way in the day to day. Your loudest customers and your best customers are not usually the same people. So start with your sales data to find out who is truly driving your business. Reach out to 5 to 10 of them. Ask for 10 minutes of their time. Ask the 3 questions, right? Ask them to say more when an answer feels short and notice where their energy picks up. Ask about what has already happened, not what they might want someday. And don't wait for a complaint to be the reason that you reach out. This single, simple habit strengthens your marketing, your product development, and your relationship with the people who are keeping your business running all at the same time. I send out insights like this one every other week in my newsletter. That's where the topic for this show came from. I also include helpful articles, grant opportunities, and little tidbits of content from here and there. You can go to growthtablesbc.com to get on the email list, or you can grab the link in the show notes. Until next time, you've got this, and I am cheering you on. See you then.